from the latest Aion 2 developer livestream to eye-catching revenue numbers and a wave of promotions behind the scenes. Who's moving up, why it's happening, and what it all means for Aion 2. It began with the two hosts of the Aion team announcing their promotions, and they weren't the only ones. The former chief operating officer was promoted to senior vice president at NCS Soft, and Baek Song-wook, the producer of Aion 2, was even promoted to vice president. Another member of the development team has joined the company's executive management, and several developers have been promoted from regular positions to senior level. So, how did all these promotions come about? Well, the explanation is relatively simple. In its first month and a half, Aion 2 surpassed 100 billion won in revenue, which is roughly 60 million euros. This makes it the company's strongest title at the moment, at least when it comes to PC games. NC Soft had set a goal of generating 250 billion won in the first year after Aion 2's release, and they are perfectly on track. However, the hype around these numbers and the promotions seems somewhat exaggerated on NC Soft's part. Just for comparison, Guild Wars 2 reached 90 million euros in its first 3 months after release, so it was actually stronger than Aion 2. And I don't remember any promotions happening back then. Even today, that game still generates between 12 and 25 million euros per quarter, with the higher end occurring when an expansion releases. Even Lineage still brings in around 10 to 25 million euros, and Lineage 2 is in a similar range. None of this compares to mobile games, though. Here, Lineage M dominates, generating more than 100 billion won every single quarter, about as much as Aion 2 earned at launch, and that despite the game having been on the market since 2017. You can basically calculate that each quarter is like a new game release in terms of revenue. From NCSoft's perspective, Aion 2 was certainly not a flop, not like Throne and Liberty, but it also wasn't a massive hit. The news coverage in the Korean press seems almost overly positive to me, especially when you consider how the last update tried to push the boundaries of monetization. Nevertheless, NCSoft continues to invest money and manpower into the title and is especially committed to fighting bots. As a result, on January 30th, they surprised players by completely disabling the creation of new characters. This is intended to prevent new bot accounts from interfering with the game's economy. The restriction is set to remain in place for at least another week, and even though this significantly reduces the influx of new players, the team believes that combating bots in the long term is more important than gaining new players in the short term. In the future, real names will also be required when creating accounts, and the company reserves the right to introduce further measures. As previously announced on February 4th, the second-to-last balance patch was released, and the update rhythm will be slowed to about once every 6 weeks. Recently, there had been weekly class adjustments, which simply became too much for players. With this patch, the Sorcerer received a substantial buff, along with several improved animations. The Ranger and both healer classes were also slightly strengthened, while the Assassin received an important bug fix. The livestream also covered a restructuring of the Abyss matchmaking servers. Elios and Asmodeans will be reshuffled to ensure faction balance. This is scheduled to take place on February 11th, at which time the next dungeon will also be released. Additionally, the developers provided more clarity on Abyss points and explained that PvE activities will no longer grant Abyss points in the future. Finally, there was talk of celebrations for the Chinese New Year and compensation for all players due to the disabled character creation. At the moment, players are receiving items such as energy and dungeon tickets for free. What do you think about the development of Aion 2? Are you already looking forward to the Western release, hopefully still this year? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.